Hello and welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee, and in today's video we're going to do a little bit of a repeat of a previous project. My great niece Jessica and her husband Nolan recently bought a house and some property just up the road from me. We're talking about 200 yards maybe from me. She is in fact the 8th generation of our family to live and own property on this land. And they've been in there, and they're young couple, kind of all excited about owning a home and living out in the country. And they just bought them a tractor this week. As a matter of fact, instead of waiting for the dealership, the John Deere dealer, to deliver it to them, they drove over there about 5 miles, and he drove the tractor home. Drove it down the highway to bring it home. He called me or sent me a text message a couple of days ago and said, Uncle Lee, we're headed your way. And I thought he might be coming to, bring something back that he had borrowed or borrow something else. We're all the time exchanging tools back and forth and various items. Well, my little dog went crazy standing at the door. And so I got up and looked out, and here they come on the tractor, smiling from ear to ear. Here's a couple pictures of both of them on the tractor. She actually drove it up here to the house with him hanging on the back. And here's another picture of him sitting on it and me kind of giving it the one-over inspection. But there's a little toolbox on the back of that tractor, and of course, I had to open it up to see what kind of tools they sent with it, and it was empty. And I told them, I said, well, that's where you keep your hitch pins and clinch pins and those kind of things that you'll need for your 3-point hitch on the back of the tractor. And so we just left that conversation at that and went on. But what I want to do today is take this piece of, I don't even know how big it is. Let's see. It's not quite 1-inch material. It's actually closer, well, 0.875, about a 7/8 inch piece of material. But it's a piece of material I actually found under the shelter at Jessica's granddaddy's house when I was helping clean up under that shelter a couple of weeks ago. Found this piece of cold roll in there. It literally had a chisel welded onto this end of the piece. You can see this end is mushroomed a little bit. And I guess her granddaddy had made a long chisel out of it for reaching down in something. It was a cold chisel welded on there. Hang on. This is what was welded onto the end of the piece. And it'd been laying in the dirt behind the barn long enough so that it's rusted pretty bad, beyond use. But what I want to do today is take this piece of round stock here and turn a pin, a tractor pin. It'll be something similar to this crude little drawing. And like I say, I'm going to try to turn that. It is a repeat project. I've made these on the channel before, but I wanted to do this one just to kind of document it. So let's turn over to the lathe now and turn this down. We're going to want to start out with turning about 4 3/8 inches of it down to 3/4 of an inch. All right, before I start turning that piece, I want to point out that I got it held in the chuck down here, just a little bit sticking out. We're going to put a center in there, but there's a lot sticking out back here, and don't like that slinging around there. So hopefully you can see right there. I've got this spider on the back of the lathe, and you adjust it very much like you would a four-jaw chuck. You just keep tightening and loosening these until you got this held in place. It doesn't have to be as precise as something you would turn on the other end down here in a 4-jaw chuck, but you don't want it slinging back and forth, and you get it within 5 or 10 thousandths on this end. It's plenty fine. So I just wanted you to see that this piece is suspended out here Again, it's about 3 foot long, but it's held in place at the chuck down here and with the spider on the back side of the headstock. Okay, we're over here at the business end of the headstock now. I'm going to put just a little center in. And that should be sufficient to put our life center in there. Alright, I need to move this out a little bit, and I'm just going to loosen a couple of these over here on the spider so I can pull that out a reasonable amount. So now we have the live center mounted. That'll keep this end from going out. As I'm sure most of you watching this are aware, the rule of thumb is you don't stick out any more than 3 times the diameter of a workpiece unless you support it on the end. Alright, let me get up my turning tool. And I'm going to have to extend that out a little further. Alright, we should be able to get our tool in there now. I'm going to zero out the DRO on the Z-axis right there. And we're going to want to come in a distance of 4.375. So up here on the DRO, we're at 4.375. And I'll set my carriage stop, as you've seen me do dozens of times in previous videos. Alright, so we should be able to come right up to that. Now we're going to touch off here and take a cleanup cut just to get down to where we can get a measurement. Alright, I'll zero out the x-axis right there. Don't really need to zero it just yet, but I'll come in about 10 thousandths. Alright, that's not quite cleaning up, so I'm going to come in another 10 thousandths. A little bit of rust on this piece of material. Alright, let's get a quick measurement. I'll zero out the x-axis on the DRO right now. And that is 0.850 exactly, and we want 0.750. So we need to take 100 thousandths off. I'm going to split that up and take 50 at the time. Alright, before I make that last pass, I'm going to clean a little bit of these chips off. That material it's cutting real nicely, looking good, but it's making some wicked chips here, long chips. They're not breaking. Alright, now let's go in our other 50 thousandths. Alright, let's give it a quick check before we drag the tool back across it. $745 thousandths, that's close enough. Rather have it just a hair small than be large. Alright, I think what I'm going to do now is first off move the carriage stop out of the way. Then I want to clean up just a little bit of this shoulder, or what's going to be a shoulder. just clean the rust off of it a little bit. Now I'm going to put just a little bit of a chamfer right here, just to ease that edge just a little bit. This will be the shoulder that actually stops the pin from going all the way through. Alright, I'm going to lay out a mark over here, carry it to the bandsaw, and cut off this length. It'll wind up wasting maybe a 1/2 inch or 3/8 right there. But I think that'll be fine. That'll give us a much more manageable piece to work with. Okay, I've got what's going to be our pin cut off from the main stock. But before we get ready, or before we start working on this end down here, where all the magic is going to be, let's put it in there and do a little dress up on our end right down here. I want to put just a little taper on this. So what we're going to do is we'll move our tool. I like to work on the back side when I'm doing this small of a taper. And what I want to do is, this large diameter right here is 0.75. I want to turn it down to 0.6 at the end of a distance of a 1/2 inch. So I guess what I should do before I put that in place is put a little witness mark on here. Well, let's see. Let's take a tool that's got a flat edge on it. We'll come right up here, zero out the Z-axis, and come in a 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to put just a little witness mark right here. So when we get our angle calculated, I will know how far to turn that up. Alright, as I said, this is 0.75 on the large diameter. We want to turn it down to 0.6 with a length of a 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to turn to my little calculator that I've teased a little bit on in the last couple videos, or in a couple of last few videos, and calculate that taper. I'll show you more about that later in the video. Okay, so large diameter 0.75. We want to turn it down to a small diameter of 0.65. I'm sorry, 0.6 in a distance of 1/2 inch. According to my calculator, that says set your compound at 8.5 degrees. So I'm going to put the lathe in reverse now. So I'm going to be cutting on this back side. And remember, we're not taking much at all off of the diameter. Notice I've got the carriage locked down right now. I'm not moving the carriage back and forth. It's locked down. All I'm doing is pulling the cross slide in just a little bit on each pass, making a cut, and I want to keep doing that until my cut comes up to that witness mark that I put in. And I think one more cut will take that witness mark out. So we've got our little lead-in taper there. I'll put the lathe back in forward now and just round that edge just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to get the workpiece turned around in the lathe now. Get the compound and cross slide set back up, and we'll start work on the other end. I've got the workpiece turned around in the lathe now, and for this next little step, I want to be sure that the tool post is square with the chuck. So I like to take a 1, 2, 3 block and just pull that up. That 1, 2, 3 block is square on all sides. So now the workpiece or the tool post should be square with the chuck, and of course the workpiece should be square inside the chuck. Now what I want to do is again make a somewhat of a witness mark, but it's more of a step to go to. So I'm going to put the parting tool on here and line this inside edge up with this shoulder we turned on here. I'll zero out the Z-axis, and what I want to do is move over 200 thousandths. All right, I'm going to lock down the carriage right here. Now we're going to cut that in. We'll do a little squilling. All right, we want to go in until we have a diameter of 0.475. So the diameter right now is 0.875, and we want 0.475. So we need to go in 400 thousandths. We'll zero out the x-axis right here and keep plenty of oil on it. I got cutting so good it was almost like it was drawing it in there. Now while we're sitting right here, I'll take my chamfer tool again. We can release and come right up here and put just a little bit of chamfer there. We just don't want any sharp edges. Now I'm modeling this somewhat off of ones I've done before, and they were modeled off of some commercial ones. Let's see what that diameter is there. That's almost 900 thousandths, 890 thousandths. I want to turn that down to 800 thousandths. All right, that's 850 thousandths. So we need to take another 50 thousandths off. And I should be able to do that in one cut right here. 20, 40, 50. And what you're hearing right there, evidently when that chisel was welded on, it got a bit of a weld spatter right there, or maybe where somebody touched off the welding rod, because there's a hard spot right there. All right, now let's get set up to cut a taper from here down into there. Okay, I hope the camera is going to behave itself and stay focused while I'm up here on this. But this is that 10-inch touch screen that I've showed in some previous videos that I have mounted between my lathe, which is over here, and my mill over here. It's running a Raspberry Pi computer that's actually mounted in the back of it. Let's wake it up. All right. One of the applets on this program is what I call a taper calculator. So I'll just give that focus now. The large diameter is the 0.8. Small diameter, remember we turned that down to 0.475. tab, and the length is a 1/2 inch, 0.5. So if we calculate, that says our compound should be set at exactly 18 degrees. So let's turn back to the lathe now and get that set up. I'll make a note of that 18 degrees. Alright, now I've got my compound set at 18 degrees, and I'm on the front side of the workpiece now instead of the back side, because I'm cutting in at a taper in this direction. So nothing's going to be in the way, and I'm not going to go far enough to have any conflict here. I'm hoping that little bead of weld right there is not going to cause us a problem. But I've got this set at 18 degrees. That was 475 down in the hole down here. And we want to come back out to the 800 thousandths here within a 1/2 inch distance, which should leave us a shoulder over here so there's not a sharp edge. So let's see. Again, I have the cross slide. I'm sorry, I've had the carriage locked down, and I'll be advancing the cross slide in as I make the cuts. Alright, I'm going to have to change the angle on my tool a little bit so I don't run into that. I didn't change the angle of the compound now, just the angle that the tool is coming in contact with the workpiece. Now see, I'm going to have to turn it a little bit more. Don't have much more to go, but I don't want to crash into that edge right there. And we're starting to bump that weld a little bit now. I think this might be about the last pass right here. I'm going to take my file and just clean off any burrs that might have occurred there. Now I want to set my tool up and put just a little chamfer on this end right here. Now, of course, the purpose of that is just to give something to hold on to as you pull the pin out. All right, we've got one more step to do on this as far as machining goes, and that's put a hole down here. So I'll meet you over at the mill. Okay, I should have all the cutting oil washed off of this now. I got it deburred, but it should be clean from cutting oil and any skin oil. And it would be nice to leave that bright and shiny like it is now, but it would be covered in rust within a couple days in this humid climate we live in. So I'm going to set it down here in the kiln. This kiln was actually a gift from my oldest daughter. She used to do glass beads and did this to melt the glass, but kind of lost interest in that hobby and had this sitting around and gave it to me several years ago. It kind of sits in the back corner of the tin barn, doesn't get used a whole lot, but for something like this hot bluing, it works ideal. I'm going to set that down in, and I don't remember, it's been a while since I did this, so I don't remember what temperature I actually bring it to, but I did have the foresight in times past to put a mark on the box and on the dial. So this is probably going to take an hour or more. I'll make note of the time. We'll come back and check this later, and Once that's done, we'll do a quick recap on the entire project. Okay, we're about 30 minutes in now, and we're at about 600 degrees. Let's see if we're starting to get any color change. Hope you can see down in there our workpiece is starting to get just a little bit of a tint now. So we're going to leave it for a while. Okay, it's been an hour now. We're about 650, 700 degrees. I'm going to turn it off. You can't really see the color right now with the glare or glow of the heating coils, but it is a nice blue now. I'm going to close the lid back down partially and just let it cool off. Well, once again we were able to take a piece of rusty metal, this time one that had had a chisel welded onto the end of it. We were able to take it, grab it before it got to the recycle bin, cut a section out of it, and make what I hope is going to be a useful tool, useful addition to Jessica Nolan's tractor. Got a nice blue on it. I'm going to put a linchpin with it. And I noticed when they were up here the other day with the tractor, they didn't have any linch pins for the bottom arms of the 3-point hitch. So I'll stick a couple of these in as well. And what I'm going to try to do is sneak up there when they're not home and put this and the couple extra linch pins in the toolbox on their tractor and not tell them anything about it, and request that they watch this video. So Nolan, Jessica, if you watch this video, go look in the toolbox of your tractor. Hope everyone enjoyed this video. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.